Welcome. I just see him back there, the dog. Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat, and that's Pierre.
And that's Pierre.
The Haitian dog who's like, no, Danielle, I am not going to move. I don't care what you say. The economy is tanking.
Right. Dog food is up through the roof. He's like,
have false prophets and Christian hypocrites wearing crosses telling us about compassion and Jesus as they destroy the economy. The Pope has just died. I'm just going to take a beat and sit, Danielle. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, it's so I will say this to folks. For those who celebrated, hopefully you enjoyed your holiday. Hopefully you enjoyed your family and your friends this weekend. We did wake up to incredible news, which is the loss of Pope Francis, who dies on today, Easter Monday, at the age of 88. And this Pope has been controversial, Waj, in a number of ways, right? He has spoken about the LGBTQ community. He has spoken about the atrocities in Palestine. He has spoken out against Donald Trump and MAGA. He has spoken for work on climate change. He was for all of the restraints that men and people have, a progressive Pope. I would argue, right?
Jesuit. I was taught by Jesuits. Men for others, faith through service.
And I think that what's really interesting in this particular moment, we know that he was quite ill. He had just had major surgery several weeks ago, a collapsed lung. Like, there was a lot that was going on there. But yes, exactly, Margaret, gave communion to LGBTQ plus people. Like, this was a compassionate man. And I think that what is going to be very interesting, and I'm very curious and also worried about, is who replaces him.
That's right.
Who replaces him, because I think that as we are watching the world descend into autocracy and fascism, as America is becoming consumed and regressing to the dark ages, we have no global moral leadership. And not to say I'm not a religious person, so the Pope was not my leader, but I did find myself interested in things that he had to say and teachings that he would offer. I'm not Catholic or religious, but so I wonder, Waj, what do you make of this, his passing?
Yeah, so I went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school, Bellarmine, in the Bay Area, where I was taught by Jesuits, in part by Jesuits, and we had to do 100 hours of community service in order to graduate high school. And the motto of Jesuits was meant for others, faith through service, right? Unconditional love. There was no hierarchy of loves. There was no, well, if you are a light-skinned toned American Catholic or Christian born here, then you are better than an immigrant. And the reason why I said that is, if you all recall, recently, a few months ago, J.D. Vance, who is also Catholic, had his own take on this of concentric circles of love, meaning that there's like a hierarchy and ranking, right? You take care of those who are closest to you, then the second rank, then the third rank. And Pope Francis said, excuse me, I think I know a little bit more than you. And also, you can't be more Catholic than the Pope. And he rebutted J.D. Vance's, if you will, not unconditional love, but very clearly conditional love and hierarchy and ranking, right? And so it's just the juxtaposition of J.D. Vance being one of the last people that met major public figures who met Pope Francis, right? There was a meeting apparently 4 hours before their death. And, before the news of this sad passing came, I told Danielle, I really want to talk about, there's that Bible quote, beware the false prophets and the ravenous wolves, right? The fake Christians, because yesterday was Easter. And the juxtaposition of Pope Francis, the Catholic Church has many of its flaws, next to a Christino, a Pete Hegseth, a J.D. Vance. Oh yes, the golden calf known as Donald Trump. It couldn't be clearer, Danielle, right? And so what Pope Francis represented, as you mentioned, in his actions was the type of embodiment of a Christian figure of service and love that I was taught, right? Washing the feet of women poor and the refugees, praying for Gaza, telling Israel to do a ceasefire, right? Acknowledging the LGBTQ community, apologizing for using gay slurs in the past, right? And then you contrast it to the Christianity of MAGA, who sit there and make these cruel proclamations while, if you notice, especially the women, right above the cleavage, there's always a shiny cross. And so I'm worried about the future and direction of the Catholic Church, especially as a lot of the sins are coming to light when it comes to molestations and lack of accountability, and they're forced to actually confront it. What type of pope are we going to have? Are we going to have a fascist light Giorgia Meloni / Orban / Trump-esque pope? Or are we going to get a figure who continues in the tradition of Pope Francis? Because I can tell you, a lot of white Catholics and a lot of white evangelical Christians who are MAGA did not like this pope, Danielle, for all the reasons mentioned.
Yeah, and I think, for all the reasons mentioned are some of the reasons why I have always had my feelings about organized religion, because of the ways in which man and woman and people are able to manipulate the teachings to, I don't know, make space for a whole lot of things that are disgusting, like the enslavement of people, like the torture of people, like the abduction of people, being able to weaponize your religion and faith against others is the most anti-religious, anti-moral, anti-Christian thing that I could ever imagine. And yet this is how this party and this movement have always moved forward. And anytime that I see, whether it's Bondi or Levitt or any of these, handmaids women, pretending that they are some Christian and holier than thou, I'm like, it is always those that are so performative in their
Yep.
acts that
Yep.
have little, if nothing, to do with the tenets of the religion that they are supposedly glorifying. Like it's truly disgusting. And you look no further than this piece of shit. Donald Trump, I the funny thing is I was thinking about this because I spent the holiday with my family and really good friends. And again, I'm not a religious person, but I am a person that is very faithful and is very spiritual. And it is so disgusting to me that this is who 77 million Americans chose to be their president. Like this to them is funny. This to them is like, oh, look at him. He's so funny and like gotcha and all of these things. It's disgusting. And I think about, we're going to get to it, the Easter egg roll, the White House Easter egg roll, which Waj, I don't know if you've ever attended, but I've attended. And
yeah,
I don't
with the kids, with the kiddos.
Yeah, but I've attended, and it is like this really, it was this really fun, event for young people to be at the White House, to see the president and the first lady, and to have all of these really fun events, from cooking to arts and crafts to to games and all of these things, and to just to think about what kind of person you have to be in order to bring your children to this White House is like, I don't know. I digress.
It's no digression. I mean, just look, we just compared the legacy of Pope Francis, and then you have Easter Sunday, right? And you have the White House, and it's a tradition. It's an easy tradition. Like, just do what everyone else has done. Don't be a freak, right? Let's go back. Be normal. Happy Easter to everyone who is celebrating. Period. Done. Finished. Even have that strange photo. That's fine. You know, like someone said, he's the Jesus statue of Rio. Okay. What does he do? Because he's such a petty, vain, cruel, vindictive piece of crap. Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics. And then he goes on and on and on. How do you mess up an Easter greeting? You only mess it up if at your core, you're a broken, disgusting piece of shit, right? A vulgarian. A man, when asked, what's your favorite Bible verse? He says, the one that said eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The one when he held up that Bible after he had his administration clear the peaceful BLM rally. Remember that? He held it upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the man that a majority of white evangelical Christians who remain his base, about 75 to 80% of his base,
Yep.
See as the leader, their fighter, their golden calf, right? Also, a lot of white Catholics, folks, not making it up. Those are just the facts. Sorry to say. And they see him as, you know, when you ask them to rationalize it, this man is an adulterer. He has cheated on every single one of his wives. Mm-hmm. He has raped E. Jean Carroll. He has defamed her. He's a fraudster. Did a charity, which was a fraudulent operation. He had to give more than 20 million fines. University fraud, owes the state of New York more than $400 million, right? Habitual liar. How can you be a Christian with your golden cross and support this man? And they say, well, God also chose Cyrus, the Persian pagan king, to do his will. So he is a flawed instrument of God that we will use to pursue our actions, our plans. Okay, so what are the plans, Danielle? Dismantle Department of Education. Mm-hmm. Fire hundreds of thousands of federal employees. Okay. Mm-hmm. Dismantle USAID, which means we know all the data that marginalized children around the world will die. Okay, so much for pro-life. Worshipping the gun, got it. Okay, being racist as F, understood. Having women who want to be mothers die because they cannot access healthcare because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Okay, send innocent men to die in a prison, knowing full well they're innocent, but saying, we don't care. It's performative cosplaying. It's the cross with the sword, the cross now with the AR-15, the doctrine of discovery that gave all these imperialists and vulgarians back in the day the stamp of celestial approval to go to America and purge and cleanse this land of heathens. And also, folks, these people used to go to Sunday church dressed in their lily white, and they used to come back and beat their slaves. It has always been in the United States of America a justification for white supremacy to perform cruelty given sanction and clearance by God. And now we fast forward, we see it represented through MAGA and the Trump administration. It's nothing new. I know some people might not like that. I hope people realize I'm being fair. I start off this episode by saying I had a very positive experience going to all boys Jesuit Catholic high school. But that is how the cross, and now let's be honest, Danielle, the AR-15 has merged with the flag to create the United States of America, a legacy of cruelty, racism, and violence. And we're still fighting it to this day. Sorry for my rant.
And I want to add to that. But before I do, folks, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet and you are new here, welcome. Please do hit subscribe, like, and comment. I am trying to hit 25,000 subscribers by the end of May, and need your help
in doing right now?
So. Close to 23. Ooh, Waj, turn your mic down a bit. We're getting feedback. But close to 23,000. We're almost at 23,000. Okay, so the other thing that I will add to all of the points that you made in terms of religion and the hypocrisy of these white evangelical Christians who are able to stomach so much of Donald Trump's disgusting, misogynistic, racist, lying, all of these things to be this quote unquote imperfect tool to use as a weapon against those that they don't like. Like, let's be very clear about what they're doing. The other piece of that is the grift of organized religion in a lot of ways, right? Is this belief that you have to tithe, is this belief that you have to give, and you see these folks, and I'm talking specifically about MAGA, who always coalesce around these mega churches with this prosperity mentality of like, the uber wealthy are the ones that are closest to God, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, when you look at what Donald Trump did just over the weekend with the Easter holiday and the corporatization of Easter, where every single inch of the White House was a billboard for big tech, a reading nook courtesy of Amazon, the bunny hop stage courtesy of YouTube, an AI powered experience and photo opportunity courtesy of Meta. And I want people to understand there has always been private public partnership inside of any administration, but that money wasn't being pocketed by the president and that administration. And so what else do they offer here? Which is that I'm going to jump to the second paragraph, folks, where it says the White House, through an outside production company called Harbinger. I wonder who owns Harbinger. Somebody internet, do your job and figure out who owns Harbinger. Solicited corporate sponsors for the traditional springtime event on Monday, ranging from $75,000 to $200,000, with the promise of a logo and branding opportunities, according to a 9-page document sent to potential sponsors and first reported by CNN last month. And supposedly, this money is going to some White House, like some named White House charity. And I just got to tell you, no, the fuck it is not. That money is not going anywhere except to Donald Trump, right? And like whoever takes a piece off of the work that they have done, right? For this administration, that money ain't going nowhere. Like to help benefit any goddamn person. So everything that they touch just becomes, Waj, disgusting to me.
Like, Jesus died for your savings. I love it. Harbinger of doom and greed. I mean, it is hot. They mess up everything.
But they're not messing. Like, we have to stop saying that they're messing up, because they're not messing up. This is how they do business.
Carol Cadwalder is a fantastic Guardian journalist who's been writing about this for 6 years. And this TED Talk that Barb just showed, this is what the digital coup looks like, was at this year's TED Talk. I was there with Carol when we gave our first TED Talk 6 years ago. And that was a TED Talk that she gave warning about essentially the broligarchy. She's the one who coined the term broligarchy. And then she returned 6 years later. The big tech made her life hell for speaking out. But go check out that talk, because she talks just about this. This is what she said. It's the broligarchy. Everything is for sale, even Easter. They outsourced Easter, like a pure, beautiful, like White House egg hunt. They outsourced it. Like, how can we make a grift? And all of these billionaires lined up. They all lined up. Meta, Bezos, all these people were there in the front row, folks, of Donald Trump's inauguration. Never forget, they were in the front row. They all gave money to his inauguration. Dana White of what is it called? UFC, for some strange reason now is on the board of Meta. It's all a big grift, right? As George Carlin used to say, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And especially if you ain't white or Christian, right? Because they're all white and Christian. They all go to Sunday church. They all, on Easter Sunday, all these people who traffic in vulgarity, in obscene capitalism, they all had these beautiful, lovely, traditional posts. Oh, look how pious we are. All cosplaying. Every single one of them with their family and quoting the Bible. Oh, look, there's Nancy Mace. Give your burdens to God. or outsource them to undocumented immigrants, make them do the work, and then send them to a prison. I don't know, Danielle. But she says you weren't meant to carry the weight of what someone else did to you. Give your burdens to God or the Supreme Court. Healing begins when you stop letting your abuser steal your peace, or you can just elect them to the presidency. They don't get to write the rest of your story. Fox does. He does. Donald Trump. Give your burdens to God.
It doesn't stop there, folks, because this was Pam Bondi's Easter post that looked fucking scary. Like anyway. And Waj did a good job because he was like, so I just want to do the juxtaposition between how these people are posting on Easter. I didn't have the stomach to put you all through it all, but I did do this one because I said, okay, so here's Pam Bondi, right? And just remember, all week long, as she was lying about Abrego Garcia, she's wearing this gigantic diamond cross on her neck as she's spreading lies. So this is her on Easter. This is her on Good fucking Friday. Do you know what I'm saying? Where she is on Fox saying that the man who they wrongfully kidnapped and deported to El Salvador, his family, his children, his wife are better off without him. That's what this woman did the day, like 2 days before the Easter holiday. But then you want to turn around and post something about religion. It's so I say that I need a bigger thesaurus because it is appalling. It is appalling and an affront to people of actual real faith.
That's right.
For the things that these people do and get away with. And I didn't post Levitt. Levitt posts the bobblehead Barbie White House press secretary. She posts a picture with her daughter talking about happy well wishes of Easter to everybody. And then in the White House on Friday, again, meltdown of lies about, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Oh, he was human trafficking. Oh, he was doing this. No, the only people that are human trafficking is this administration,
right,
as they are kidnapping people, abducting them, and fucking sending them to a foreign country. That is called human trafficking, right? And so she stands before the White House. Oh, I guess Sans crossed that day and just absolutely melts down with a bunch of lies, none of which she backs up. And they get away with it.
It's we've talked about this on this show a lot. How do you shame shameless people? All of us have been guilty of white lies, naked lies. I don't know about you, Danielle, but in my life, when I've been caught, my face squirms. I get a guilt and shame. I start twitching. I shift uncomfortably. And that's good. That means I have some degree of shame, right? And then you apologize. These people without shame, while wearing a cross, while professing to be Christians, the best Christians, while saying that they are family first and pro-choice and pro-life, go in front of the nation, Danielle, in front of the nation as leaders of the nation, and say this lie. They know it's a lie. We know they know it's a lie, and they say it without blinking, without any shame, without any twitches, with a smile on their face. And then literally 2 days later, they say, Happy Easter, Christ has risen. And folks, in the outline, I couldn't help it. So I had Nancy Mace, and I gave an example of what Nancy Mace did. Pam Bondi, then Pam Bondi. Chrissy Nome, then another thing, right? So for the Nancy Mace one, I don't know if you all saw, and I saw in the community, literally the day before, on Saturday, she posts a video of her confronting a constituent, right? And she says, look what these people do, and they confront me. He was in the supermarket. He stayed far away. He was very nice. And he told her, it's all on camera, folks. Go check it out. He told her, hey, how come you haven't had any town halls? She goes, how come you didn't come to any town halls that I did last year? He goes, well, I'm asking you now. And then she calls him gay. We don't know if he's gay or not. Could be. But then he's like, why are you saying that? She goes, I voted for I've supported gay marriage. She's like, what does that have to do with anything? And then it escalates, and within a minute, she, the Christian, says F you to him, not F you, the actual words. And he's like, what the hell, F you? And then like gutter trash, she goes back for a minute and just starts yelling and swearing at him. And then she posts it because she knows her gutter base will respect that fight of this Christian woman telling a constituent who was far away from her, never yelled, never got in her face, simply asked her to hold more town halls. She kept saying F you to him. And the next day, Danielle, without any shame, not just one post, Danielle, I had to choose because there were like 18 posts about Easter. She posts that. How do you shame shameless people? Which is why the false Republican prophets, beware the false prophets, beware the ravenous wolves that come in sheep's clothing, right? Jesus warned about that. It's in the Bible. These are the false prophets. These are the modern pharaohs.
But I think that we need to move away from a place where we think shame is going to get the job done. You cannot shame the devil. That is why it is a phrase. You cannot shame people that have no moral center, that have no heart, that have no empathy. We are dealing with sociopaths. And the more that we decide to literally sit there and look, I'm not a psychiatrist, right? And I'm not pretending to be one. But when you see people that lack a moral compass, that lack any type of moral foundation, that show absolute glee in other people's suffering, I know not another name other than sociopath but to call it that. But for the rest of us to say that, oh, if I just show them more crying babies, if I just show them the pain that they're causing, that at some point in time they're going to have an epiphany, they're not. And we're wasting our time trying to shame people that cannot be shamed. They are gleeful about the disgust that they put out and the things that they say and the posts that Donald Trump does. It makes them excited, right? And so at this point and stage inside of Trumpism, we need to not waste our time trying to shame these people. We need to put our energy into waking more people up. Over the weekend on Saturday, there again, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people across the country were once again in the streets protesting on Saturday. Some were doing food drives and clothing drives and getting out in red states. The fact of the matter is we need to put our energy where our energy actually matters. And it is not going to be convincing the soulless that somehow they should try and have a soul. That's not where the fuck this goes.
I'm so glad you mentioned the word sociopath. It's not just sociopath. It is, and we have to name it, white Christian nationalism, something that we have been discussing on this show for the past 2 years, ever since I've joined up. White Christian nationalism is the project of Project 2025, of the Heritage Foundation, of the leader of Office of Budget and Management, right, Russell Vought. The white Christian nationalism shares in common with the bro-oligarchy the cruelty and the greed and the whiteness, although the bro-oligarchy isn't necessarily religious, right? There are fissures there that can be exploited, but there's commonality, the commonality of racism, greed, and cruelty. And white nationalism, white Christian nationalism also, folks, had a footprint on January 6th. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of white Christians who wrote a report saying that type of terminology, those slogans were there. They were also there at one of the homes of Justice Alito, because his wife raised not just one, but two flags that were associated with the January 6th insurrection, the upside down flag, and also the appeal to heaven flag that has been appropriated by white Christian nationalists. So literally in the Supreme Court, folks, right now, as we're speaking, we know that there's a whole bunch more, but at least two white Christian nationalists, Samuel Alito, there's also Thomas, there's also Gorsuch, there's also Roberts, there's also Barrett, there's also Kavanaugh, right, who have no problem giving Donald Trump a stamp, to the point where over the weekend, speaking about the Supreme Court real quick before we switch, 7-2, the Supreme Court said, yeah, we're going to grant, this stay for these individuals right now who are pending what's going to happen in the Fifth Circuit, I believe. And you can't deport this entire class of people under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. And Danielle, who are the two who dissented?
Thomas and Alito. So, as
Super Christian,
Waj
though.
just said, Supreme Court has blocked the Trump administration for the time being from deporting foreign nationals under the Alien Enemies Act. The two of them dissent, and you know, it is just. But what do you expect, right? Like, what do you expect from the double Darth Vaders of the Supreme Court? Do we expect that somehow
Darth
like
Vader's
they're gonna develop consciousness, right? Like fucking Clarence Thomas has been getting paid by his sugar daddy over the last 20, 30 years to keep his mouth shut, right? And put his gavel where Crow says to put it. Right. So give me a break like that. We think that somehow these two are going to be on the side of like people and justice. They ain't about that life. So
and also Alito, can I just say one thing? You know, people forget Alito, it was revealed, but there were so many scandals. Last year was revealed that Alito also got paid by sugar daddies, Danielle. Not as much as Thomas, but Alito also got paid. Alito was also in bed with all these right-wing influencers. One of the people who was, if I recall correctly, I'm forgetting his name, but he was one of the whisperers, right? Who used to wine and dine the Supreme Court. He became a whistleblower last year, right? He used to be an advisor for Hobby Lobby. He said that Alito leaked to him what they plan to do with the Hobby Lobby decision. Yep. So they're like this, folks. They're like this. It's an incestuous tight community, and they do not care about democracy and rule of law. I give you this dissent. How could you do? You literally have, it should be a 9-0 slam dunk, but they found a way, Danielle, these super Christians, Alito and Thomas.
Yeah, they are sickening. But you know, as we switch gears, right? Because one of the stories because there have been so many now that have come out that should have remained as front page news and should have been hammered into the same way the fucking media did, but her emails, but that. So Hegseth, right? SignalGate, Whiskey Leaks, whatever it is that you like to refer to it as, come to find out that there was another signal group that Pete Hegseth was a part of, this time sharing classified, pertinent information with whom? His wife and his brother-in-law and his private attorney.
Totally normal. Totally normal. And guess what, folks? Before you think it's just the libs, there's an op-ed written in Politico today, written by a former top Pentagon spokesperson who worked in the Trump administration, John Ulyot, Ullyot. And he said there's total chaos at the Department of Defense, which is becoming a major distraction. So he's a whistleblower who decided to literally write this in Politico. He was a former chief Pentagon spokesman and led communications at the NSC and Department of Veteran Affairs in Trump's first term. He resigned from the Pentagon last week. He was a senior communication advisor on Trump's 2016 campaign. So not the libs, not the woke, MAGA, a MAGA guy working in the Trump 1 and Trump 2 administration, literally wrote an article that came out late last night saying, for the love of God, Pete Hegseth is a national disaster. And furthermore, Danielle, he said, there are more stories to come. That story that you just said right now, forget that story. The first story, SignalGate. People should have been fired. In fact, some people say that he even maybe broke the law, regardless of your intention to share that type of information to expose national secrets, confidential information, our troops' locations on an unsecured app, which was Signal, even though they were warned. And then they invited Jeffrey Goldberg, the journalist of The Atlantic, right? And then one of the folks who was the Middle East envoy was in Russia while he was receiving this. And then we found out that the National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz, was also sending government emails via Gmail. And they also use Signal still to this day, despite all of that. And also Mike Waltz, just like Matt Gaetz, did not set his Venmo contacts private. So it's all public, completely exposed. And now Pete Hegseth, oh, the guy with the alleged alcohol problems. And oh, the guy who, when he was at Princeton, said that if you have sex with a drunk woman who's passed out, it's not rape. And oh, yeah, that same guy then years later paid a woman, I believe it was $50,000 or $25,000, the NDA, to stay quiet about his alleged rape of her. That same guy whose own mother sent him an email that you wish to God your mother never sends you, where she called him an abuser. A man who was let go and or resigned from 2 nonprofits because of economic impropriety, and for the past 10 years has been a Fox host. And he replaces General Lloyd Austin, a black man who was the former Secretary of Defense under Biden, who was a 4-star general. So you go from a black man who has to be a 4-star general, nearly perfect in life, Danielle Moodie, to this drunken, racist, Islamophobe, white Christian nationalist who wrote a book called American Crusade and has white Christian nationalist tattoos all over his body. Those tattoos, much like the Appeal to Heaven flag, have been appropriated, folks, in the past 10, 15 years by white Christian nationalists. And I will say this, my rant is almost done. And who said it's the end of DEI. We're going back to merit. Remember that? That was Pete Hegseth. That guy did this. So Danielle, I say maybe it's time to bring back effing DEI. What do you say?
No, because I say let white mediocrity and stupidity and absolute fuckery be in the spotlight. This is what happens when you get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That white mediocrity gets to be center stage, because who was all on that? Who was all on the Signal chat except for what's her name? Russia's girl, the alleged Russia's girlfriend,
Chelsea.
right? So other than her, it was all white men, right? And then you get to hear from Republican senators talking about, oh, well, sometimes mistakes get made. It's really fucking funny how when it's all white men, right, the response to their, oh, I don't know, national security risk and threat is that mistakes happen. But if it were Biden, or if it were any person of color or a woman or what have you, heads would have rolled. So give me a fucking break. And you would think, right, folks, you think, oh, well, every Monday, let me just tell you, Mondays are not my favorite day. And it's not because I have a case of the Mondays like, oh, I'm sad the weekend is gone. No, it's because I wake up to Waj's email that has 87 things that have gone wrong over the weekend, and that I have to ingest it all in an hour and a half. And so you would think, is this the worst thing that has happened? No, it's not. Because guess what, friends? When we're talking about white mediocrity, it's not just in the defense. It's not just in our national security. No, all of America's health is in the hands of a man that has a worm in his head, that has killed and eaten carcasses, that believes that heroin somehow fixed him, and that toothpaste causes autism. Those are some of the fucking shit that has come out of the mouth of our public health official. And right now, again, not in the news in the way that it should, much in the same way that Whiskey Leaks has just gone the way of the wind, measles has now hit an 800 plus cases and spread across 24 U.S. states. Montana just reported their first measles case since when? 1999. More than a quarter century ago. Tell me again about having people who have absolutely no skills, no resume, no base understanding for the jobs that they now have, how they are risking the lives and well-being and safety of the rest of us. From Pete Hegseth to fucking RFK Jr.
To Donald Trump. I mean, white supremacy is a hell of a drug, man. Like, it's so self-destructive at the end. What do they say is that we have to go 100 feet just to get to 15 feet. I mean, if you don't believe that white supremacy exists or white privilege exists, I know some people hate that word. I give you one example always. We have monuments and statues named after racist criminal traitors who lost a war. They lost a war. Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee. In order for me and Danielle to have monuments and statues named after us, we would have to create statues. Like that's like, can you imagine? Like, people always say, like, prove to me white privilege exists. I say Donald Trump, prove it to me again. Pete Hegseth, prove it to me again. Pam Bondi, prove it to me again. Kristi Noem, prove it to me again. Nancy Mace, prove it to me again. Oh, I don't know, RFK Jr. as the Director of Health and Human Services. They're going to kill us, folks. They're going to kill us. Well, not me, because I'm vaccinated. My kids are vaccinated. Folks, measles is preventable. Polio is preventable. Polio used to kill people. If you're lucky enough to have your grandparents still alive, talk to them. Just sit down with them. Say, can you tell us a time when there wasn't a vaccine for polio? They'll give you some horror stories. You know who remembers? Mitch McConnell remembers, because he got polio. Measles used to kill people. You can eradicate it. It was eradicated thanks to vaccines. But if you're not vaccinated, guess what, folks? Measles, it is very, very contagious, and it has already killed people this year. The person who knows about it tweeted about it. U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy. See that MD after his name, folks? He is a doctor. He's proud to be a doctor. He's also a senator, a Republican senator from Louisiana. And despite being a doctor and despite posting this, guess who he voted for? Can you tell us?
Well, here you go. Cassidy delivered a floor speech back in Florida in February, in support of RFK Jr. to be HHS secretary. So who did he vote for? He voted for Donald Trump. Who did he also vote to support? He voted as a doctor to support a conspiracy theorist. Now, I will say this. In his floor speech, he did talk about the need for this administration to embrace vaccines. He did talk about the fact that he had hoped to work closely with RFK Jr. in helping him to understand that autism is not caused by vaccine, et cetera, et cetera. He did offer those things in his speech, but offered those things in his speech knowing that the man that he was getting ready to vote for has said all of those things, has written about all of those things, and is bringing that ideology to HHS. So you as a doctor, that was an absolute betrayal of your oath to do no harm. Absolutely. Because you know exactly what this person was going to be capable of and was going to do. So let me just go back to this. So you now tweeting out that folks should get vaccinated because once measles starts spreading, it's hard to stop. We fucking knew that. We already knew that. Right?
That's why we have a vaccine.
Who needed to relearn this lesson? I like, oh my God.
I like how Ann said, do harm. No, literally, it's the do harm party. It's the pro-death party. It's the how can we kill people quicker party. It's how can we harm our children. Number one killer of children and teens of this country is guns. Should we do anything about guns? No. Remember there was that shooting at FSU? Oh yeah, we already forget. Remember the shooter was a white man, 20 years old, who's a Republican MAGA supporter? Yeah, we already forget. What did Donald Trump say? And pro Second Amendment, right? They're also pro measles. They're also pro death. Folks, this is where we are. It's a movement of cruelty. It's a movement of self-destruction. The analogy I always give is the following. When it comes to racists, right? When it comes to white supremacists, not all white people, folks, I want to be very clear. We're talking about white supremacy, not all white folks. It's white supremacy. And white supremacy also captures and converts people of color. There are people of color who are willing enforcers of white supremacy, and there are white people who combat white supremacy. You all with me? Okay. If given a choice between sharing the house with me and Danielle or burning down the house, white supremacy will burn down the village. They will secede from the country. They will engage in a civil war. They will drain the pools. Mm-hmm. They will elect Donald Trump. They will engage in a useless trade war. They will have people like Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. in positions of power. They will kill our kids. They will render us completely Baroque, but they will never share the home. And if you don't believe me, look at the result of Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Ron Vera's economic policy. They were given a healthy economy that was recovering, And in 3 months, folks, they have fired hundreds of thousands of people, dismantled Department of Education, crippling IRS, trying to cripple Social Security, cripple the USAID. And guess what? The net savings are about 150 million, not 150 billion, trillion, not billions, just excuse me, less than what is that? Yeah, less than 150 billion. Okay. So this is what they did, folks. And they gutted regulation. The rich have gone richer. There've been tax cuts for the rich. There has been a grift at every single stop. They've even grifted off of Easter. And meanwhile, the base still loves them, even though literally what's happening in DC, Virginia.
So, here's where we are. And I said this probably in January, which was that Waj lives in Virginia. I lived in DC and Northern Virginia in the DMV area for nearly 20 years. I left when Donald Trump was elected the first time, and came to New York. And what I can tell you is that everything in this area is dependent upon the workers in that area, are dependent upon the federal workers. And if you have hundreds of thousands of people whom are fired, then what happens? Well, guess what? They're going to sell their homes. And then what happens? Well, there's going to be no one around to buy those homes. So that there's going to be a crisis that happens in terms of housing. Now, let's pull back and look at the rest of the dominoes that will fall. Well, then if hundreds of thousands of workers are fired and they are selling their homes or losing their homes, well, guess what they're not doing? They're not going to grocery stores. They're not going to dry cleaners. They're not going to restaurants. They are not going to be using Uber. They're not taking taxis. They're not doing all of the things that build upon having a strong federal workforce in this area, right? So what is happening right now in DC? They say it's just not sustainable. DC restaurants pushed to the brink in the wake of wage hikes and government layoffs. Some owners say they can't keep treading water, the domino economy. We watched this very thing happen during COVID. Everything around, right, commercial real estate where offices were collapsed. Because if people aren't going into the office, then guess what? The food vendors that are there, the Ubers, the taxi drivers, the Lyfts that are there, the dry cleaners that are there, the small mom and pop restaurants that are there to feed those workers, all of that goes away. And that is what is going to happen all over the country.
Local.
And it's happening right now in Washington, and it's going to happen all around the country. And then that is on top of, Waj, as we wrap up today, that is on top of the brain drain that is also happening, and the decline in tourism that is also happening. Tourism, major industry in New York, California, Florida, all of it. We are all absolutely connected. So tourists don't come in. Then the hotel industry that relies on the bursts of tourists, and the restaurants that rely on the bursts of tourists that come into particular areas at particular times, guess what? That all goes away. That is money lost. When that money starts to be lost at an unsustainable rate, those businesses fold. And then you develop blight, because no one is coming in place to rent said restaurant, to rent said place, because they don't have the extra income to be able to risk on opening a business. That is the domino effect. This is the strategic, purposeful catastrophe that this administration has constructed.
Shock doctrine. Naomi Klein talked about it. And two other things. Who helps subsidize U.S. students? Foreign students. They give the most money. So good luck, U.S. students. And also, who does the work that no one else wants to do? Immigrants. Who pays about $100 billion in taxes? Undocumented immigrants. Who takes that money and spends it in the local community? Immigrants. Who helps populate these sparsely populated Rust Belt and rural communities because everybody fled? Immigrants. So the attack on immigrants is also self-destructive and has the domino effect that Danielle described on our economy. And speaking, going back full circle and ending it on an Old Testament biblical note, many of the stories in the Bible and the Quran, for those of you who study world religions, are the same, many of the same prophets. And, unlike Danielle, I am religious. I guess you could say I'm religious. I believe in God. I try to be an ethical person, even though you don't have to be religious to be an ethical person. But it gives me, it gives me a moral compass. It gives me a strong footing. It's helped me in my life, right? To each their own. There's no compulsion in religion, nor should there be. But speaking about stories, you all know this story. So growing up, Danielle, you used to read some of these stories. There's two stories that I've thought about a lot in the past 3 months. The story of Noah and the flood. All right. In Islam, the Arabic of Noah is Nu. Same story. Noah's like, hey, everybody, you know me as an honest dude. You might believe me or not, but God told me there's going to be a flood. I'm going to build an ark. It's going to be a huge boat. Come on the ark. They're like, you're crazy, Noah. All right. So he builds this huge ark. And then it starts raining. And then all these animals are going on the ark. And Noah's like, hey, people, so that rain I was telling you about, it's coming. And people are like, I don't believe you. Even the sheep and the goats are like, we're going to go with this Noah guy. Right. And then the water's up to the ankles. It's up to the the waist. And Noah's like, you want to come in the boat? And they're like, we're good, Noah. You crazy. He's like, okay. So you read those stories. You read another story like Moses. Moses helps save the people from the Pharaoh, right? And he goes to Mount Sinai and he says, okay, folks, I'm going to go talk to God for 40 days. Don't worship a golden calf and, have a sex orgy. All right. If I'm not back in 41 days, orgy it up, but just give me 40 days. He comes back on the 40th day, very happy, turns the corner, and Charlton Heston sees what? The orgy and the golden calf, right? And you're reading these stories, you're like, people can't be that stupid. People can't be that forgetful. People can't be that cruel. People can't be that vapid. People can't be that, averse to literally saving themselves. And then the past 5 years, Danielle, ever since COVID, can I tell you, I'm like, you know what? I get it.
Yep. But
take it as a story. Just take it as a story, even as a story, as a fable.
It's right.
Passed down for thousands of years. You're like, people can't be that stupid.
They can't be that stupid. And again, I continually say, oh no, right? Why did I start all of my 85 podcasts? Because if people just knew how dangerous Donald Trump was, the Donald Trump of 2016, he took them by surprise. So if I just dedicate my work and my life, Waj, over the next several years to educating people, to speaking to as many people as possible, growing all of these different platforms, then surely people will become woke to the reality of the grifting, misogynist, compulsive liar, danger and threat to democracy. And they would never, ever, if given the opportunity, vote for this man again. And then voila, right? So, you want to believe that, when you know better, you do better. You want to believe that, the more you know, the better you become. No, there are some people that just willingly stick their fingers in their ears, their heads in the sand, and just, do what they will. Because you can't check them. You can't tell them what to do, how to think. So whatever it is, they'll drown in the floods. They'll,
it's just a drizzle.
It's just a drizzle. It'll all be fine. I don't need a mask. I'm good. As your last words on a ventilator, folks, here's the thing. I will end with this today. We know that the 1,700 folks that are here with us right now, you are here because you believe in education, you believe in intellect, and also you believe in your power to continue to spread messages to those that don't necessarily show up here. So what people say, what should I do? How can I be of service? I will tell you, this is independent media. We thank all of the super stickers and super thanks folks that came in. If you have not subscribed to this channel, it is free. Just hit subscribe and also hit the little bell that would alert you so that you never miss an episode. But we are here telling the truth because the truth becomes particularly critical at a time when lies spread faster than the current measles outbreak that we shouldn't be happening because guess what? Vaccines. So we need your continued support here on Waj's Substack, which has recently just had a complete growth spurt. The Left Hook, go there. We're terrible capitalists, but if you want a way to support us monthly, we have different levels on our Substack page so that you can decide to become a monthly supporter.
No paywalls,
no paywalls, because we believe that democracy, truth, all of those things die behind a paywall. And we are here to ensure that our content stays free so long as people continue to be willing to support us.
Can I tell you what my dad yesterday, every day, my dad, we're children of immigrants. Danielle's a daughter of Jamaican immigrants. I'm a daughter of Pakistani immigrants. My dad yesterday, he goes, "Beta, you can still add a paywall." I'm like, he goes, "Please. Even Joy Reid does it. Even Jim Acosta. Please." My parents are dying. Every day they die a little. They're like, "Please just do it." I'm like, I just can't. The economy, and plus information should be free during
information should be free. It should
like,
be
didn't
free.
we raise you better? You're a child of immigrants. I'm like, I know. He's like, you and Danielle. And then even with Danielle, he goes, "Is Danielle also like this?" I'm like, yes. He goes, but and then they're like, fine, you're doing good work, but you need to eat. We'll find a way. But thank you all for supporting us. Thank you all for the super chatters. And Danielle, how many subscribers do you have right now?
I have close to 23,000 folks. I'm trying to get to 25,000 by the end of May. So if you have not subscribed, subscribing is free. Subscribe. Share this video, share this channel on all of your social media platforms. Continue to support. We're going to continue to do our best work for free. But every dollar, every cent that you guys send our way allows us to keep the lights on, allows us to keep food on the table. Waj has children. I have a step puppy here that needs food. So
and that step puppy is Haitian. Has a French name.
Yes.
He likes good fancy French dog food.
Fancy French food.
Wait, real quick, can I ask right before we leave?
Yeah.
Danielle and I did a Substack live that went pretty well last week. If you all want to see a quick Substack live, we're thinking about maybe doing a midweek Substack live show rant convo off the cuff, either Wednesday or Thursday. So if you all are into that, let us know. We started doing this 2 times a week. Once we asked the community, hey, should we do 2 times a week? And you all said yes, and it's going really well. So we're thinking about either doing that maybe, I don't know, Thursday, Wednesday between us, a midweek check-in. If you all like that, let us know.
We will alert you all, and we will let you know. Thank you for listening to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
I'm Wajahat Lee.
And we will be back on Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. See you then. And the Danielle Moodie Show is live today, 5 p.m. Eastern. So see you there as well. Appreciate all the moderators, all the super chatters, everybody in there today. Thank you for showing up. This was, again, another record, over 1,700. Appreciate you.